Hi guys! In this episode I'm going to be reviewing Juliet by Anne Fortier. For never was a story of more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo. As you've probably already guessed, this is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. And it's actually a story within a story. There is historical Italy, and then there's also modern-day America and Italy. And so to make this review more simple, I'm going to be summarizing each setting individually. For the historical setting, it takes place in Siena, Italy in 1340. After the murder of her parents, Giulietta Talame sneaks her way back into Siena by putting herself in a coffin. And she is assisted by a friend, Friar Lorenzo. No one can know that Giulietta is back in Siena, especially the Salimbini family who had a part in the death of her family. While en route, Giulietta and Lorenzo are attacked by some thugs, but they are quickly saved by Romeo Mariscotti. After dealing with Romeo, Lorenzo successfully delivers Giulietta to the home of her uncle. Romeo eventually figures out that the girl is part of the Talame family. And so one night when the Talames are having a masquerade party, Romeo and some of his friends sneak into the party. Romeo quickly finds Giulietta, and just like that, love at first sight. But as always, these stories always have a sinister lurking villain in the background. Salimbini has his eyes on Giulietta, and he really wants to marry her. But of course, Romeo doesn't take to this very kindly, and so he challenges Salimbini to compete in the Palio race, and whoever wins the race, they will have the privilege of marrying Giulietta. So, on the day of the Palio, Salimbini uses his son Nino to compete in the race, and Romeo does in fact win. But during all of this, Nino secretly stabs one of Giulietta's cousins. And so after the race, Romeo is blamed for that death. And so, having no other choice, he has to escape Siena because of the wrath of the Talame family. So, Salimbini does indeed get his wish to marry Giulietta, but he kind of then sends her off elsewhere with his son Nino. And if you've read Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, you'll know that there is no happy ending. Sadly, that tragedy continues in this retelling, but I'm not going to give away any spoilers. The way Giulietta and Romeo die are quite a bit different from the Shakespearean version. So now that that part is concluded, it's time to move to modern-day America and Italy. After the death of her aunt, Julie Jacobs is given a mysterious key that opens a safety deposit box in Siena, Italy. And also, Julie learns that her real name is in fact not Julie Jacobs, but Giulietta Talame. Broke and needing to get away from her twin sister Janice, Julie decides to take that trip to Siena. And it's in Siena when she meets Ava Maria Salimbini. Julie tells Ava Maria that her real name is Giulietta Talame, and this prompts a lot of excitement from Ava Maria. Ava Maria is very familiar with the story of Romeo and Giulietta. Ava Maria later introduces Julie to her godson, Alessandro. Alessandro and Julie don't click right away. They have immediate suspicions about each other. Alessandro helps Julie get to the safety deposit box. During all of this, Janice arrives in Siena as well, and she too has her suspicions about Alessandro. So Julie and Janice delve deeper into the mysterious contents of the box, and through all these letters and notebooks, they figure out more about their family history. They also discover that after the deaths of Romeo and Giulietta, an artist created a statue of them. But it's not the statue itself that is important. It's the eyes of the statue. For eyes, the artist used these really priceless gems, and that's what people throughout history have been looking for. And the gems have never been found. And to add even more drama, back in 1340, Friar Lorenzo created a curse. Lorenzo cursed a plague on both the houses of Tulame and Salimbene. And the only way for the curse to end is for Romeo and Juliet to finally reunite again. All of this sets Julie and Janice on a search of discovery, and they face dangerous people and dangerous obstacles. And speaking of a plague on both your houses, has anyone else ever wanted to play Mercutio just so you can dramatically call out a plague on both your houses? Who cares that it's a man's role? I've always wanted to play it. I really loved this book. I have a soft spot for mystery thrillers that have a historical twist to them. Fortier successfully managed to weave both the past and the present into one cohesive story, I felt. And it was a great thrill ride from start to finish. You get great action moments, a great mystery, and you also get a great love story that occurs in both the modern and the past. So, in other words, it's not really just one genre. Sometimes novels with both the modern and the past face the issue of a reader kind of preferring one setting over the other. But with Juliet, I actually really liked both. Neither setting felt lacking, and I didn't feel like they were trying to outdo each other with more interesting characters or more interesting plot. They were pretty much equal, I felt. Fortier's writing is really great. I loved her descriptions of Siena, Italy. I oftentimes really felt like I was truly in Italy. I really felt that Fortier did her research into historical Italy, and also explaining to the reader all the different versions of Romeo and Juliet that have passed down through history before finally reaching Shakespeare. I honestly didn't know that there was a real Romeo and Juliet that all these versions were based off of, and that through history different authors just added their own twist to the story. An important thing for me when I read a book is likable characters, and there were quite a few characters in this book that I really loved. The relationship between Julie and Alessandro was very intriguing, and I kept rooting the entire novel for them to finally get together. And guys, this may seem a bit of a spoiler, but I'm just going to say it anyway. It was pretty obvious that Alessandro was a version of Romeo. As soon as he walked onto the very first page, he just oozed Romeo. The story is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet, and so we already know Julie is some form of Julietta, so it kind of makes sense that Alessandro would be Romeo. Julie's twin sister Janice was also another very interesting character. Janice is basically the wild sister. She's the one who dresses like she's at a party every single day, and who sleeps with every single man she comes across. And so this is a nice contrast to her more virginal, conservative sister. I really wanted to hate Janice, but I actually ended up really loving her. And I think she's one of the best characters in the whole novel, to be honest. I also really liked Romeo and Julieta back in the historical Italy. They're not really as deeply fleshed out as their modern counterparts, but I think they still have some interesting qualities about them as well. I guess the one thing I didn't quite understand about this novel, if there was anything I had to complain about, was Alessandro and Julie supposed to be Romeo and Julieta reincarnated. In most books, if a character is some type of reincarnated figure, they have strange dreams that result in flashback sequences. But Julie never had a moment like that. Everyone surrounding Alessandro and Julie just kind of assumed and were adamant about the fact that Julie and Alessandro were indeed Romeo and Julieta. So I'm just going to make a wild guess here and say that the story has nothing to do with reincarnation. It's simply just a story about two people who are descended from those two families from long ago. Another interesting thing about this book is that it's not all about this epic eternal love. It's actually very much, in fact, about two sisters. Julie and Janice are polar opposites. But it's through these events and these obstacles and challenges that they face that they come to love and understand each other more. In some ways, the novel kind of abandons the romance between Julie and Alessandro, and instead focuses more on the relationship between Julie and Janice. I seriously have nothing but good things to say about this novel. I'd recommend it for fans of mystery thrillers, and also if you like me, mystery thrillers that have a historical twist to them as well. And of course, if you love Romeo and Juliet, I will recommend this as well. I hope you guys liked this review for Juliet. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and remember that you can also leave me questions in the comments below. Bye!